Hi, this is Patty Seyburn. I'm a professor of English, specifically of poetry at Cal State Long Beach. And I'm here on behalf of the Kleefeld Contemporary to introduce you to 5 young, terrific poets. My friends at the Kleefeld said that they would like to have some poetry readings during this time when I think we all could use a little bit more art in our lives. So here we are. My students are in my upper level undergraduate workshop, and I think you will be as impressed with them as I am. 5 of them will be reading. Irving Bustos, Victoria Hurtado Angelo, Tyler Sakatani, Aldo Moreno, and Jessie Jarin. All right. So anyway, welcome to our reading. I'm going to start out with one poem, and then I'm going to hand it over to my students. Aspirational Self-Portrait on the Color Wheel. Lips perhaps in pyrrole red, pigment used in automotive factories. My first car, a small Ford built to replace, impossible, the Mustang. Eyes designed by Guigné of Paris, who patented the process for Viridian green in 1859. Some thought it could replace all other greens. Eyebrows bone black, my favorite contradiction. From use of charred animal bone as pigment, it battled the umbers and Van Dyke brown, an old soul from 17th century for my hair. Though in reality, approaching Payne's gray, named for British painter William Payne about the time of Wordsworth. Though the watercolorists did not live so ripely long. His is a story of success and sadness, innovation and degeneration, best known for this neutral tint comprising indigo, raw sienna, and lake, the name of my future band. Were the colorist to name a shade after me, one that flatters, I would say Seyburn's Verjus. I used some in a recipe last night, so that most of us would have to look up 2 words. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn the screen over to Irving Bustos.
Hello, so my name is Irving Bustos. I am currently a double major in creative writing and English literature, finishing up his last semester as an undergrad. Today, the poems I'll be reading focus a lot on the body, and in particular on location. This first poem is based on a story that my dad told me about his home birthplace in Acapulco, Mexico. All right, so the title of this poem is Festival of Scorpions. Festival of Scorpions for Joseph Stroud's Bird Cages of Oaxaca. First light in YML and bodies already lined up for menudo pots, taller than cliffside divers, taller than the arched mantis. Dog barks. They smell cow toes. 100 years old tradition simmers. My father walks, swagger moves, brown folds under suit in this fuga de luz. He does not line for soup. His tongue dreams of iced rice, sweet as girls' shoulders. There, to the right, a hut, adobe and mud. A girl, born in El Cerro, the hills, so young, so shy, sells popsicles swirling in color. Lime, magenta, amarillo, flame, buried in ice upon stone, carved with flowers and unearthly creatures. My father walks in, greets her. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. She nods. No city draws eyes like those. You must be from El Cerro. She hides her face. This palm tree of a man making blush is so much. He glides close, cinnamon sweat in the air, shouts in the air, accordions in the air. But she is silent. He smiles. I want you to give me an ice cream that is not cold. I am sick. My throat aches. The girl nods, red skin, feels each cold, sweet belly. Her brow, the eagle on the running hair. My father's smile grows. Too cold. He is so amused. Cold, cold, cold. He almost stops her, but that fox does not until every rice body's been held. She looks at him, a sincerity only sagebrush could grow. They are all cold. He loses it, bursts into my favorite laugh. She is the color of brick under menudo pots. He is pointing. Give me that one, those three. And in a flash, like lizard's tail, she's wrapped them. He gives her double, leaves her open mouth, happy to pay any price for the memory of a boy on hot sand by a sun-swept house, catching scorpions in his small, bare hands. And this next poem that I will be reading is based on a travel experience I had in Barcelona. Not me personally, but specifically more references to the city. First date, Discoteca Zavala, 2019. You really want to know what being an X-Men feels like? Just be a smart, bookish boy of color in a contemporary US ghetto. Mamma mia, like having bat wings or a pair of tentacles growing out of your chest. And that's an epigraph by Junot Diaz. Loose boy strutting down edge of street. Loose boy covered in gold-plated sleeves. Loose boy in the fracas de las ramblas, in the crushed night of your thighs, licked by Dominican curls. Loose boy, open hell bags that send armies marching into. White silk rushing through the back doors of your pockets. Loose boy, sing that blue eyeshadow loud as club beats merengue into you. Coño, suben esa vaina pa' arriba. Loose boy, feral on the floor of your feet. Calvin Klein shoes can't contain this. Barcelona can't tame this. Trujillo can't reign this. Loose boy, wrapped up in heat blanket, flew out of New York to study how men make myths. How men make myths moves your hips into his. Writes a story of continents meeting in a sea of Spanish arms. And that concludes my two poems. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Victoria Hurtado Angelo.
Thanks, Irving. My name is Victoria Hurtado Angulo, like he said. I am at my last year as well, but I have until fall semester and then I graduate. I've been studying creative writing as a major and my minor is in psychology. I'm going to get started with my first poem, which this is my attempt to be very subtle yet detailed with my imagery, and on top of it be clever with some of the things that I say as well. If I were to describe you, a slouching bee, a Polaroid of lilies at the bottom of your calloused knees, a filling of air, greenery, raining sands, botany, where a spectator shares anise spices with strays. A scratched vinyl, scenes in between, pop punk playing fairly well. Hell, there'll be Raggedy Ann shelved. A jar of moldy oranges, good decor, moleskin books, really blank. Golden flames spew pumpkin stems, a gang of cats betting on Chinese checkers for nose rings. Flings with strange neighbors, a my name is name tag on church, flower pots, sinning is a job. Swimming postcards, boiling back kitchens, trimming, dangling. A paper cut seen in kaleidoscopes. So here's a show. Puppets pulling Glocks, glitter, blood, spills, whispers. What's this movie called? A neon light sign in underground jazz bars. Buried old paper. You have to write names on the floor to get in. A cafe, asylum, opera, play at the feet. Viewers tip with eyelashes, echo of hefty men cough and spit. What's all the hullabaloo? A room where paintings melt. Cheese, knives, combing, Western men's mustaches. It's dusk. A crash of waves, eyes wash on shore. Kids scream, give me more. They yell like chipped paint. A candlelit greenhouse, everything yellow, mustard, burnt amber, old seeds, and me. Describing you alone. Ripe fruits and those damn bees eavesdropping. And as I had said before, I worked hard on my imagery, kind of to make things unpredictable. My next poem is called Wanting to Bathe, and this was my attempt to write like Anne Sexton's in her poetry collection called Live or Die, and a lot of what I write in here is inspired by her. This is called Wanting to Bathe. There's a boil celestial, the North Star right in the smackin' middle. I see that life. The wrinkles of an astrological ceiling, I gaze from below. Back against the bath being flooded by the shower head, legs spread for a little love. Everything is marble. In every penumbra, edges of those watercolor stretch marks, cornea cracks. The greatest painter could never see this. Oh, my pair woman, she joins me in the same water. We let our hair strain, choking drain. For this, we whisper who's next for slaughter. I feel thousands of wet stars fall like Native Americans, spears and arrows slicing me as I see. Oh, my striptease queen, dance with me. She gives me lace. For this, she helps me measure my body as the water fills. I touch myself. I begin to trace. The shower curtain flutters like drapes massaging a disappearing London window pane. Night sky, the baby sleeping, cradle curtain sway. The water pierces my eyes. I became blind. Oh, my blind woman. Smells of scalp and rabbit skin. She peels off her sex, sets it down on the rim. For this, I know she's the kingpin. Why don't real men adore me? Not creepily. I'm in a trance. It's the fall of France. When I take my breath, I connect the dots. I have too many moles to count. My hair is pulled by the current crashing against the shore. I'm ready to touch someone other than me. Being a lonely masturbator is free, so I settle for a tea party. Oh, my lovely corset bitch, I ask her to tea. For this, she drinks with me, and we chat nakedly. Flesh to porcelain, I cradle myself and imagine my life starting over again. I'm here, oh swollen celestial, gazing down, wet war Piscinian against my Piscinian sensations, erectifying my temptations. Laced curls makes me heavy and very alive with beating droplets. I can't breathe. Pores awaken like childish daffodils, steam, flesh smelling. I want to be burned. It seems serene. I go in flames, blistering tongue, flaunting the way I bathe. It's a masterpiece. The octave is off. The concerto dies out. I and 5 women combined, and I still don't feel alive. Now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Tyler Sakatani.
Hello, my name is Tyler Sakatani. I'm a sophomore at Cal State Long Beach, and I'm an English major. And this first poem I'm going to read was inspired by a couple I saw having a dispute on campus. And for some reason, it was both funny to me and also resonated with the feeling of isolation and disconnection that I was having at the time. Under an aberrant tree. I relaxed on a park bench under the shadow of an aberrant tree. The sun melted jaundice-colored rays around me as people floated down the cracked cement stream. A couple walked past. Then the man put an arm around her gritty shoulders. Her face turned acidic. She shrugged off the arm like shedding off a jacket. He stared at her. She looked at his running shoes. A pair of crows, or were they ravens, flew together overhead, and for some time I felt loneliness acupuncture my chest. Under a similar tree, not too far away, a woman was staring at me. I looked at her, she looked at me. Her face changed the processed cheese sunlight to mint, and I smiled. She did not. Looking closer, she was only looking at my shoes. And my next poem was sort of inspired by this current at-home isolation. And so I wanted to reflect on my time at home and what, I guess, home really meant to me. And so I wrote a series of haikus. Home in a series of moments. Life through a window. Morning light adheres to grass. Crows whisper to trees. Broken glass trees sway. In the window muffled wind, Kurosawa-esque. The AC rumbles. Softly into sparrow song, the microwave dings. The smell of mirepoix, chicken sauté, chive pilaf, I inhale. The yellow of my computer screen attracts moths, so does the ripe moon. Thank you, and next I'll be handing it off to my wonderful peer, Aldo Moreno.
Thanks, Tyler. I'm Aldo. I'm a senior, graduating this semester, and I majored in English creative writing. And the first poem I'm going to read is called Williams at Work, and it's about, it's from the perspective of William Carlos Williams, the poet, and he was also a doctor, and he had to balance those two career paths. And so this poem is kind of about that. Williams at Work. Plums in wood boxes, losing their color behind the winter garden. Memorize these prescriptions for the morning. Aspirin for Mrs. Daly, a flute of whiskey for the boy, 1/2 gram of hemlock dissolved in a morning of plenty. I too joke to get through the day. Rummaging through the blue-black for a morning coat, a stethoscope as if to say, isn't it odd the way the painting hangs on the wall? What time is first appointment? The dancers spin out of frame. I guess it's an idea to which I can relate. Who's first? What's this? Arthritis of the knee? Are you still playing tennis? I guess now I know there's a war going on. Boys and bombs and mustaches unlimited. But did you see the snow this morning? The frost glazing the grass like tin slate roof catching sun? It was almost too cold, but the air will help the fever. I unfortunately forgot my papers today. Must remember the way lips shrink at diagnosis, curl like a snail caught. Life in a magazine on a waiting table, life in a body barge off New Jersey. Is that good? I'm up to my elbows in it. Have to tuck away, make a little plot, worm it up for later. Forget it in a sunset swim or the sprout of perfect petals, white with purple centers. And when I'm free for an hour to gather, I'll recollect and collect some new specimens, a new way of thinking, to put some roots down on a page. But for now, what's that, Mrs. Gonzalez? You said what, my dear sir? Yes, my good, sweet child. You have my full and undivided attention. And the second poem is about finals. And I started it last semester during finals. And it's about a time when you could go to the library to study for finals. So it's called Chaos and Creation on the Fourth Floor. In the library, it's finals week. And across from me, two peers pass an orange pill with sidelong glances. This, the rebellion of the most studious. A pre-packaged punch of focus, candy-coated and dissolving, components separating and rejoining into the great flow of blood, smashing into the brain, tattoo of serotonin, ballroom of molecules, dancing without mirrors. And it doesn't take long. One gazing a glazed sadness into their computer, a long face to make El Greco proud. The shadows in the cheekbones resembling a stoneworked or sanded copper sculpture. And it's possible I'm projecting, but here we sit among the binds of a 5,000-year history, the annals of Western thought, the careful scripture of the East, or just some middle place in between. A private orchestra is playing for me, army of binary, tandem of electricity, cresting into crescendo, launching waves of sensation no one can see. And what was it? Mahler, Mexican rock radio, the long-listed playback, feedback of a few centuries, forged in a pocket of surety. Meanwhile, the other student is a picture of focus, a deadly cobra ready to strike, smashing, tapping, collapsing finger bones on plastic keys, and she has Van Hoff's almond blossoms pasted facing me, her computer case of Japanese tendencies. Delicate white flowers, mystery knot of branches, the brushstrokes having been reproduced in such exact detail, the blossoms just bursting from their buds, eager to drown in sun and frost alike. It would easily be the most beautiful thing in the library were it the real thing. And I don't mean the one in Amsterdam, I mean the real thing between you and me. Oh, malformed titans, oh, cherub of severed arms, the sun is sinking, the sun is sinking, and out the window, all I see is sheer black, like the world cuts off a cliff, or like some German once said, the abyss. And my head is ringing, and my throat is dry, and there is no water here worth drinking. And before long, I believe I am dreaming up this world of possibility, open wells of pupils in front of me, and I hear the echoes beating through the walls of human hearts rising from the dead. And like an atom split, my classmate's voice enters my head, quoting Emerson, who said, "Don't quote, tell me what you know." And so what I know is this: we are volumeless, a congregation of ghosts looking for a pen. We pour our contents forward, spill much over the side, and decree a blindness that would make Midas proud, bending over his golden back, grubbing for a pewter bowl. And next, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jessie Haddin.
Thank you, Aldo. I appreciate it. I'm reading two poems today. My name is Jessie Haddin, and I am a senior graduating next week virtually. And I am studying creative writing. And what else was I supposed to say? I'm sorry. Okay, so this next poem, the first poem that I read, is inspired by grandmothers. And I've just been thinking lately about how important women-to-women relationships are, and growing up without grandmothers, whether they had passed or they were just absent from my lives, left a void in me that I can feel now and then. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy. Trying to write a grandma poem is hard for me because most times they end in smoke. One of mine died in a car crash Christmas week on her way to work at her joyeria. Dad was only 16, couldn't understand all the officers said, but he knew what was missing. And to me, it was just a story until I started writing. We all come from women. The mother of my mom, is cold and silent. I don't know which is worse. When I was a girl, she loved my laugh, but made me quiet down like she made mom cut open her eyes so men here could see them. She's not dead, but I haven't seen her in 10 years. What a shame to have no grandmother. But I did have one once, for a little, my ex's. She smoked so many Marlboros, you never forget she was American. I knew he ignored how she sucked out of every movie, how she sat out on her green plastic chair in the garden, but I watched her when I could. I followed the smoke rising up and out, and God, I grew mad at him missing the show. Here was a woman planting toxins, not because she couldn't help it, but I imagined she was tired of how much life a woman must give. When I lie down in dead grass, I close my eyes and imagine dancing with all the grandmothers, and we will be laughing and smoking, and nothing will be missing. Thank you. And the next one is titled The First Poet I Ever Loved. This next poem is about my father and how much he loved Edgar Allan Poe's Annabel Lee. And it also explores ideas of masculinity and vulnerability, but mostly it's about my dad, and maybe he's where my poetry comes from. This one's titled The First Poet I Ever Loved, as I said. Everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. Kurt Vonnegut. Everything about a crying man makes me feel like watching water fall in Ecuador. Once I stood in front of gray stones spilling out white water pressed against Jurassic green. I cried. The first poem Dad read me was Annabel Lee, and the way words spilled out of his mouth made me believe there's love even at the bottom of a dried up well. I was young. I thought he read it like that because of Mom or the war, but I know he thought about Grandma now, how she made her own gold jewelry, how she was soft all around, how she loved Chinese food on Friday nights. Heaven would have been a fool not to envy her. Hearing him read All Beautiful like that was the first time I fell for a man who left, and I think, how can a man write a poem without writing at all? I've seen Dad cry 2 times, once on Mom's bed in the dark after the divorce, reading a letter, never knew what it said, but I'd guess nothing. Then when we visited Grandma's grave, he wore sunglasses that entire day, but I knew what his eyes looked like. They looked like hurt. Immovable rock in a forest and a stream. Men who love you leave you, Annabel Lee, but God, how they miss us too. Thank you so much. And now I'll pass it on to our wonderful professor, Patty Seyburn, who cares so much about our art. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank Irving, Victoria, Tyler, Aldo, and Jessie for agreeing to read, and to the Kleefeld for agreeing to have us. It's obviously a tremendous gift to me getting to work with such talented young poets. And we look forward to more poetry, more art, and more of the intersection between the two in the coming months. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.